Well, good morning, everyone from beautiful downtown Huntsville, Alabama. This is Eric with Uzign, and I am so glad to have you on. I noticed some questions that popped up early about the music. It was late coming in. Usually I start the webinars with music playing, but I have a very, very active 3-year-old that's running around my house this morning. And so some interesting conversations, I decided that it wouldn't need to have you involved in. So I kept the music off for a little while. But I appreciate your understanding and your concern this morning. So let's see. Lots of people on today. Lots of good folks, good conversation going on. Great conversation. Been watching the conversation for the last couple of minutes. And so good to see that. So let's see. Who do we have on this morning? I see Gloria and Joy, and I see Christina. And Christina had a good question there about the app. And I don't know if that app was referring to Uzign or if that app was referring to the Demio platform that we're using now. But I think Gloria's got that under control. Good morning, Jay. Good morning, Jean. Good to have you on this morning. Let's see. We have Mark from Virginia. Good to see you this morning. Ola. I don't know where you're from, Ola. If you wouldn't mind telling us where you're from, I would appreciate that. And we have Lisa coming to us. Yes, Lisa talking about my southern accent. Ola from London, good to have you today. And so we have Ralph from San Marcos, California. Good variety of people on today, large crowd, very active, very eager to get started today. So we have Carol from PA, and I've also seen the Carol from Corpus Christi this morning. Saw her name go by just a little bit ago. And Ron from the UK, good to have you today. Just an amazing number of people. Ben from Florida and Jim from Richmond, Virginia. And let's see, Dave from De La Reunion. I think I got that right. Cool. All right. Anybody else? Anybody else want to tell us who you are, where you're from? Good morning, Herman. Good to have you on today. And we have Graham from Toronto. So we have a good crowd of people from lots of places. So good to have you on. If you have missed that announcement, feel free to put that in there as we go, and I will do my best. I know, Christina, you're just up the road here from Tennessee. So good to have you, and Peter Drake from London. So good to have you, Pete. All right. Miss B from Atlanta. Graham, I'm a little confused about. Did I say something about an announcement? If I did, I apologize, because I have already lost that thought. Gloria, if you can bail me out of that one, that would help me. I don't have any idea what that was, but that's okay. We'll catch you up. Here's how we play this Friday webinar program. Okay, if you have a question, make sure to preface that question either with a couple of question marks or with a couple of capital Q's, so that we know. Gloria, we always hit that at exactly the same time. But yes, if you have a question, make sure that you precede the question with 3 Q's or 3 question marks. That way, it's easy for us to catch the question. Gloria and I both, and we have a very active group, and we want to encourage you to be very active and ask questions and share and do all the stuff that we do during this normal webinar. This is always a live webinar. We don't do replay webinars for our live events on Friday. Now you have a chance to get the replay later, and we've kind of figured out what was going on with that, and I think we're going to be able to get that fixed probably very early part of next week, so that you will be able to see the webinars live and not just be able to click on a link. But we should be able to get that taken care of for you early part of next week. I'm in the process of getting that taken care of right now. So but we want to make sure that we catch your questions, and the easiest way for us to do that is if you will precede the question with 3 capital Q's or 3 question marks. That makes it really easy for Gloria and I both to catch that, and we don't want to miss your questions. Your questions are important to us. That's how Actually, that's how all of us learn. I learn Gloria and I learn what's important to you and what things are going on in your head, in your world, and how we might be able to help you. And other people may have the same questions. So if you tag it that way, that helps us to keep the flow going properly. Now, we have some of you might be new, and we have a very, very great group of people that meet with us every Friday morning. And we try to keep this very much on the up and up, and we keep it as upbeat as possible. And so let's make sure that we stay positive and that we stay engaged as we go along, and we not get too sidetracked. I give you an agenda so we can stay on track, and we will do our best to address your questions, your comments, and even your concerns if we can. Okay? I don't know the answer to that question, Ralph. I don't. So that's my little 3-year-old right there that's peeking over the top of the edge. He's come to stay with me for a few days, and so I thought I'd share that with you today. And it's just kind of a reminder that if there's a little extra noise in the background, there's a reason why there's a little extra noise, and that's it right there. But that'll be okay. Now, as we start the agenda, we'll start in a little bit different place today. I'm going to start out by talking about our guest feature. If you are we call this a power user, but if you're a power user of Usign or GiveSign, we would love to be able to interview you and highlight your work, feature your work, and show some of the things that you do. We want to keep it focused on GiveSign and Usign. And so here's how we do this. It's pretty simple. You have to send me a private message on Facebook, and I will give you the details of how we do that. We'll do a brief interview to make sure that everything's like we would want it, so that there's an alignment with our purpose. And then we schedule a time to do the interview. I video record the interview on Zoom, and then I make that video available to you. I'll edit the video and give it back to you, but we make that video available to you, and then we feature it on our Friday webinars. Okay, so that's how that works, and it's a pretty cool feature to be able to do that. We have several people on this morning who've been highlighted: Herman, Jean, Stephanie. We'll talk about some print work in just a little bit, and that's the thing and Gloria. I forgot all about Gloria being on. Gloria's been on, and Gloria has some amazing work as well. Stephanie does some pretty fascinating stuff in print world, and so I'm going to share a little bit of that with you today, so you'll get a chance to see that print, because we're going to focus on print. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Okay. Gloria says if she can do it, anybody can do it. So if you're interested, if you'll watch the group, we are trickling out those interviews spaced out from the time that they were on the Friday webinars. We space that out some with a little distance between those, so that we don't do them back to back, but we put them in the group. And Stephanie's has been in, Herman's will be up next. We'll start to trickle those out inside of the group. Okay, great question though. Good question. All right. In the community, this is one of the values, and if you're not watching this regularly, if you're not checking in the community, this is the reason why we highlight this community news here, is because there's really cool stuff that goes on in there. And here's a good example of this. This guy asked for a template for a Polaroid type image, and we got all kinds of people who commented back. Here's where you can find one. Here's where you can get this, and this is what you can do. And so we love the community, and it does a great job of taking care of itself, and it's been a good, positive, encouraging opportunity for people to be able to to ask questions and get these types of responses. Now, the secret here, and this is the Gloria was the one who offered the best comment, not the best, she offered a comment on this, was to find the image that the Polaroid type image that you wanted, and then take that Polaroid image and remove the background from it and drop your image inside of it, which was a brilliant idea. And it's a great usage of the background removal tool, which reminds me that Rose wrote a great article on 4 things that you can do with the background removal tool that you probably didn't know you could do. And that's in the group as well. So that would be a great place for you to look and find. Okay, Dana, I'm going to address that question in just a second, okay? Because I agree with what Gloria is saying, but I want to make a comment about that in just a second, all right? Let me finish this. This Polaroid image was a great usage of our community and a great place to be able to do that. Now, let me address Dana's question, because she's asking about about file storage. Now, we always have people who want to dump a whole bunch of images into their canvas, and the more people who do that, that eventually slows down the server. So let's keep our files on your hard drive, on a Google Drive, on a Dropbox, someplace where it's easy for you to be able to manage, and it's easier for you to manage them there than it is to try to manage them inside of Youzigne. And it helps the server demand if we utilize it in that way. Now, I have a brief little poll I want to do today. I'm going to ask you this. So, are you ready for the poll? Graham, hang on to the question. I'm going to get to that just as soon as we get to this poll question, okay? Because I think that's a really good question. We'll talk about that. The webinar poll is this. Ideas on how to market. What would help you the most? Ideas on how to market, ideas for business, or both? And because we want to give you the best value that's possible. And sometimes what you're really looking for is, where do I go with this? And sometimes, how do I market it so that I might be able to get the greatest amount of business? There's 2 different things. How do I get the business, and what kind of business do I want to get? And so I'm just curious as to which of those 2, and it looks to me like people are looking for things for both. Okay, it looks like the overwhelming number of people are saying that it's going to be both. Okay. Lucas, that's a great question, and that's a question, not just a comment, but that's a question, and that leads me to the next question. All right, the next question is, what would help you the most, design ideas or editing skills? And the truth is, those are 2 different things. The design ideas are, what am I going to create? And the editing skills are, how am I going to go about creating it? Now, if you are a member of the Template Club, then you're getting design ideas dumped in for you all of the time. So that's a great place to look for your design ideas. If you're not a member of the Template Club, I'd highly encourage you to do that, and make sure that you Graham just said he's had some editing issues, editing skill issues, and that's the reason why we focused on that for the last 3 or 4 weeks, is so that we might be able to help you with the editing tools that are available there. And it never fails. Even my design person that I use for my social media posting, she has used Youzigne every single day for 9 months. She sat here and watched over my shoulder one day and said, "I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you could do that." And so that comes up a lot. And so we just want to hear from you. How can we best help you to get the things that you need? Okay. So, Graham, that's okay. That's why we have replays, and we're in the process of working on that replay, so you'll have all of those editing skills. We're in the last 4 weeks, and we should have those up early part of next week in the support place, so that you can see those replay on those videos. And lots of great questions during that time, so I think we could be helpful to you there. And if you have additional questions, that's what we have this Friday webinar for. Okay. All right, very, very good. Gloria just posted the link to the Youzigners group on Facebook, and make sure that you're a member of that group. That will really, really be helpful to you. You get lots of really cool. I get inspired from the people who are there in that community all of the time. They are very, very helpful to me and very encouraging as well. Okay. All right. Have we missed any questions so far? I want to talk about GiftSign for a little bit today. Last time that we met, we talked about would you use Cinemagraph features better if you understood it better? So we're going to play with that just a little bit today. We'll take a little bit of time and we'll talk about the Cinemagraph features, and I'll show you how those two things work, how those features work today, and make sure that you're kind of getting up to speed on what we do with the Cinemagraph. And so we'll spend some time with GiftSign today doing that, and then we'll answer any questions that you might have on GiftSign. All right. Then the next thing is we'll get to the Youzigne canvas, and from the Youzigne canvas, we're going to talk about prints today. And one of the print designs, and it's hard to find sometimes, and that's where people get lost, is that the t-shirt designs are under prints, which doesn't always make sense logically to folks, and so we'll talk about that today, and make sure that we've got that taken care of as well. Yes, Stephanie, I did get your pics, and you're going to see two of them in just a second. Okay, because we're going to talk about layout prints today. And Stephanie did. We talked about when I interviewed Stephanie. She said. Yeah, don't let me forget that question. So Stephanie sent me two examples. Here is a great example of a gigantic print that was used. That you see her mother there putting up her design, her display in a craft festival that they had prior to the eclipse, and so that's a great example of a use of print design and her ability to be able to put that out where people could see it. And we have some really cool questions that come up a lot of times about how big of an image can I do, because it doesn't, I hear about all these billboard size kind of images, but the truth is that at 300 DPI you get a beautiful looking print right here, and then a couple of other examples of the things that and this little design right here that Stephanie has made for her mother, and the big card that she had there. Yeah, she did a great job with this, and Stephanie does a lot of things in print. She does a lot of print designs, and so she's shared a couple of those with me from the craft show that she and her mother were at prior to the eclipse. So that's pretty cool. And I wanted you to be able to see that today as we kind of talk about and highlight the ability to be able to do print style work, because this is a huge piece of the business. Print's never going to go away. We focus a lot of attention on web design, but print's never going to go away. You're still going to need to have posters, and you're still going to need to have cards, and you're still going to need to have postcards that you can send out, and that looks like a postcard size image that Stephanie has given there on the right-hand side of that screen. And so you're going to have those things, and they're going to be important, and it's a great business opportunity for you as long as you make sure that you use the 300 DPI, not the 72 that was designed for web. All right, then when we get the canvas open, we'll talk about some tips and tricks as we go, and then we'll make sure that we have answered your questions as we wrap up. Okay, with that being said, with that being said, we are going to move to the canvas. So give me a moment to switch my screen here, and I will be ready to do that in just a second. It's just a minute to get that done. Hold on a second. I want to go to, I forgot to put the gift sign up, so couple little tricks here with gift sign. Can you all see my screen fine? I want to make sure that that's a good screen experience for everybody. All right, we're going to go back over here, and I want to show you a couple of little tricks that I think are pretty cool. All right. Lots of flurry of questions going on right now, and Gloria is staying caught up with those. And so if I ignore the questions, that's not intentional. That is because we're trying to make sure that we move through this quickly. Lucas, it is an introduction to Youzigntraining, but it's also, we also talk about Giftsign while we're here. So if you don't have Giftsign, just hang on for a second. We're only going to spend a few minutes on this, but we do also do both of those. Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Now, a couple little tricks here and things that will be important. We have if you'll notice here, I have saved this image. This was a screen capture image that I did. And so I took a screen capture of this video and I saved it as an MP4. That allows me to be able to upload it as an MP4. We talked about this before. So I can upload that as an MP4. I saved it here as an MP4. I could also save it as a GIF, and from the GIF, I can then edit it as well. So from the Cinemagraph standpoint, and that's all I'm going to focus on this morning, is when you're in the Cinemagraph, this is the video playing right here. And it's a great still shot of the video. And you can see the water coming down off to the top of here. I want to show you two things, but you'll see the splashing off the side of this, which looks a little sloppy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to edit this just a little. So I'm going to go in here with the eraser. And I'm going to make the eraser a little larger so we can see this. I'll pull this down here. And I'm going to save all of this right here that will continue to run as a video, or in this case, a GIF inside of my GIF. And clear out that area right there. That's the area that I want to have show. Just a little spot right there. Now, when you play this, as it generates that GIF. And I'll show you a great little trick with this, because sometimes you look at this and you go, that's not exactly the way I wanted it to look. And so I'll show you how to edit that in a moment. Yes, I'm working on that, because we originally actually the creator of the GIF platform said it's called a GIF, not a GIF. And so we've had this all over the board, and it's been everywhere. But you see now, nothing's moving except for this. We don't have the water coming off the edge of this anymore. We've cleaned that up. But maybe I just want to make the pool itself work. So here's how you use the Cinemagraph to do that with. You go back over here to the brush. And now I'm going to paint back in this area right here. So I have the ability to be able to do that. And I'm making the water stand still this time. And the only thing that's going to move is the pool. Okay. Yeah, the peanut butter comment, I love it. Yeah, that has been the most controversial thing, is how is that thing pronounced? And when we first came out with Giftsign, I had a young lady in my church who said, "You're saying that wrong." And I said, "No, that's how we say it." And then the creator of the GIF platform came out and said, "No, it's a soft G. Lucas, are you trying to get are you trying to get the desktop version, or are you trying to use the cloud version? Because most of us are operating off the cloud version. Now you see how the water stays here and only the pool is moving, and you do that with just simply making a little editing tweak right there. So that's how you use the Cinemagraph tool. You can reset it right here, and that changes that. You can go in and use the erase tool to erase the portion that you want to have still in motion. The remainder of that will stay as a still platform, and only the portion that has been erased will be still in motion. Okay? Yeah, this is Christina's making the comment that's awesome. This is something that most people were not using. And so we did a little poll, and people said they would use it if they knew how to use it. So I thought we'd take just a minute today and make sure that everybody understood that this was fairly simple to do. And you simply use the eraser tool to remove what you want to remove, and you use the brush tool to put it back if you want to put it back. And that's really all there is to it. Now, there's one other thing that you can do. You can grab an image from that. Sometimes having an image from a GIF is helpful. And so I can actually export that frame right there and save that frame someplace as well. Okay, so that is just another little trick for using GIFsign, and I wanted to make that available to you this morning. So let me switch my screen back again, and we'll go to the Youzigntraining canvas, and we'll focus our attention for the remainder of the morning on the Youzigntraining canvas. Okay. It is a great way to do that, to achieve your maximum impact. I completely agree with that, Stephen. Now we have the Youzigntraining canvas. Okay, Gloria's going to reload, so take it easy on the questions for a second. And I will go back to the Youzigntraining canvas here. And we'll focus our attention on prints, but I have to get my screen set up here so I can still see the questions and make sure that we keep on track here and I don't miss anybody. John, I'm not sure. I haven't seen too many issues with saving. Sometimes what will happen is, and this is probably the thing I've seen the most, is that somebody will save an image and it will take this and move it just a little bit one way or the other. And if you're having that take place, it might be a Flash issue. It might be an outdated Flash issue on your Chrome browser. You might be using a browser other than Chrome. And those are a couple of things that happen. You might be using a system font rather than one of the Youzigntraining fonts. That's a possibility. Another thing that you might want to do, if you're having this issue come up very often, don't hesitate to do this because it will really help you. And if you'll notice, I don't know if you can see that highlighted. I'm going to make the background so you can see it a little better. Okay. Yes, and it can also be conflicting with plugins. I've had plugin issues that have just been have driven me crazy before. I'm going to put this on a yellow background here so you can see it. Yeah, I've had plugin issues that just will drive you absolutely nuts. And so you want to check that as well. That might be another thing that's causing an issue. And plugins have taken or extensions have taken a weird direction lately. There's just some bugs that are going on with them. And there seems to be a place where hackers are doing that. Yeah, if it's fonts, it's probably a system fonts issue. But if you're having an issue with that, you've got it the way you like it here. You can do this. You can save all of the elements in your image. All right, and then up here you can go on here and click that group and save the group. And by saving the group, this is a fix for this issue, John. By saving the group in this manner, then I know that I'm going to be able to have that back exactly like it was before. Okay, because now I've got this image is a mirrored image of what I had before, regardless of how it saves it. Okay, so that's one thing that you can do that will help. You couldn't ungroup a template? Is that what you're saying, Graham? The way you ungroup, and when I go back over here to get and click on this group, the way you ungroup is you go up here and you just click on the ungroup, and it will take that group apart for you right here. That groups or ungroups, okay? That's how you do that. If you have a template that has things grouped together, you just simply ungroup it that way. And if you can't ungroup it, then it wasn't grouped. It was created in another platform and brought in. Does that use less storage than saving a file? I believe that it does, because you're only saving the elements here. You're saving the vector elements is all that you're saving when you do that. Okay? So, I had lots of questions. I always jump onto the design canvas. So let's make sure that we've got that before we get started here. All right. Having said that, let's take a look at the print designs. So when you go over here to, you go to your layouts and you find prints and you click on prints, you have all of these options. And we've gone through a few of these options in the past, but this one comes up a lot. Where do I find the t-shirt designs? You find the t-shirt designs under prints. You go to prints and then you go to Teespring shirt, because the colors are the Teespring colors. Okay, so that gives you this layout. Always make sure that you have turned your background on transparent, because if you don't turn it on transparent and you go to look at what it's going to look like, then you'll end up with this, okay, which is not what you want. You want to turn that on transparent, and then you'll get a chance to see the image right here. This happens to be the Teespring colors. So when you look at this, the reason why it's under Teespring shirts is because these are the Teespring colors. Okay? Check to make sure we've got questions taken care of here. Yes, that's the answer there, Stephen. If you're having trouble and you've zoomed out 100% all the way here, you can get a pretty sizable zoom. You should be able to find those tiny images when you use your zoom tool here. Should be able to do that. Sometimes very, very tiny images are a little harder to do. And that's the reason why saving the images or saving the vector images is helpful. So if I have a tiny image, it's probably a vector image. And if I hold down the Control A, I've now grouped all of that together, and I don't have to worry about trying to get onto those images from there. Okay, I've got a bunch of questions. Teespring happens to be the name of a t-shirt company that is a fulfillment company for t-shirt designs. And Gloria is correct. If I click on this image right here, let's do this. We'll ungroup this. And if I click on this image right here, I can move it with my arrow keys, which is easier than trying to click on it and move it the other way. Okay, that does make it easier, and I've done that frequently. How did I get the image? Mine is blank. You always click on this little preview button right here. The preview button is the least used button that we have on our platform. People always forget to go to the preview button, but that preview button will give you a good place to preview your image from. Okay. Actually, Stephanie's making a point here that she said that it doesn't go to the edge of the template because it will be around the side of the shirt. So I make a new size template. You should be able to resize this image right here once it's laid onto the design canvas in the shirt fulfillment company. I don't use Teespring. I use another company, but we can actually take that whole thing and then we can resize it on the design canvas with the shirt company. So I can move it so that it gives me the fulfillment, or it gives me the size that I'm looking for. So that's helpful as well. Ron's asking the question under prints, what do those sizes mean? Those are the paper sizes. So if you are looking for, and I'll switch to one of these. If you're looking for, and here's a way to do this. Let me do, before I switch, let me show you something. If I've got this design right here and I want to know what DPI is that going to be in, switch to custom size and it will tell you, and then you make sure that you save it in a 300 DPI. Now it will automatically save a t-shirt design in 300 DPI. But if you want something else, if I'm doing something else and I want to make sure that I switch it, before I'm finished, I switch it to the custom size and I move it to 300 DPI rather than 72, because 72 is default for your custom sizes and things that are not going to be print quality. Oh, I see what your problem is. Yeah, that's the reason why I use the t-shirt company that I do, is because it's a little bit, I have the ability to be able to do that, and it also tells me where I'm at that way. So you can't go to the custom size once you've got this design layout here, and that'll tell you what this canvas is. Anytime you want to know what size your canvas is, which is what I was going to show you here, when I go to the A4 size right here, it tells me what my canvas size is. All right. And then you can convert that into inches if you're printing something in particular. Okay. Yes, and Stephanie's made a good point here. If I save this design, if I'm going to save this design, I can save that. Once I get it exactly the way I want it and it's laid out exactly the way I want it, I can save it as a template, and then I can modify the template later because I've got the size, I've got the bleed where I want it to be, I've got all of that. And I'll show you how to save that template when we finish today, okay? All right, just scrolling through the questions to make sure I don't miss anything here. All right, Lucas, we are going to address how the program works, and that's what we do every single Friday. And each Friday we take a different topic and we work through that topic. That's the purpose of the whole onboarding. This is a gigantic design software that we have to take apart piece by piece and be able to give people the capabilities of being able to use that. So let's see here. So the question was asked about this image here, and I've saved it on groups. That's saved as under group. So I go over to the vector tab right here, and I can add vector images to this. So if I wanted to add a vector image here, I can do this. Now I can take this image, and I can grab it in the wrong spot. Take that image. I can blow it up. I can change the color. And that's where that came from. Okay? All right, Graham's asking a question here that I think is going to be an important question. I have 4 key elements and I want to show a client a package of elements. Can they be created quickly? Anytime you have a client question, we're going to try our best to give you as many options as possible, Graham, because that's a good question. You have 4 key elements. Say, for example, I'm going to make some assumptions here, okay? So if I assume something incorrectly, help me with that. But I'm going to make some assumptions, and this will help you as well, Lucas. I have a way of saving my text, like this camera right here, I can save that text because somebody asked me a minute ago if the camera was centered. I can actually do this, go down here, and I can make sure that it is centered in the middle of the in the middle of the page right there. I can also make sure that it's centered in the center portion of the middle, but that's not what I want to do. But I want to. You do have the ability to be able to do that right there. Now, say for example that I want to. I'm going to move a couple of things here. Say for example, instead of having that at that perfectly horizontal there, I want to move it just a little bit. I want to move it just a little bit, so I've moved that to a 45. That's a little further than I wanted it to go, so we'll move it right there. Okay. Now I can take that, I can change the color of this. So if these are key elements, and that's a great question, Graham, because watch what we're going to do here. I have the ability to be able to save this with a particular color. All right, now I have this with a color. I have it at a specific angle. When I click on this tab right here, I can save that text. And when I go down here, that text is now saved right there. And that's an element that say I want to save for a client. So that might be one of those things. Maybe it is they have particular branding colors that they want to save. So I've got one here, and I can change that to another branded color. And I click on this right here, and you want to see what that looks like. I'm sorry, click here, and you want to see what that looks like if it's in this color here. So I can save that as well. Then I can group these together, save them on a transparent background, and I can deliver that to the customer. Hopefully that kind of helps to answer the question. The logo, the name, the product tab, product tag, and I'm trying to follow your question here, Graham. The logo, the name, the product tag, and then I want to do different layouts. Facebook, yes, exactly. If you'll save that just like we did here, if you go over to the, if you go over to the groups tab, I can move this. I can take this groups tab and I can change my design layout. Let me get my screen cleaned up a little bit here. Then I can do my design layout. It's not going to be perfect because we're completely resizing. But when I resize, like my Facebook, if I want to put that in a news feed, then I have the ability to be able to pull this into a news feed. All right. Now I may have to resize it because remember it was on a gigantic piece earlier. But that's using the group tool is a great way to be able to do that. And then I can save that, as Gloria is saying, once I get it so that it's properly sized here. I can save that and I can deliver that to the client in that format. This is just a news feed image. If I'm going to do this as a Facebook cover, it's going to make it look very different. All right. So if I do it as a Facebook cover, this is going to be different here. And so what I want to do is make it smaller so I can see it and work with it. But I've got that image that I can pull in here. Now I may have to take it apart in order to do it. And we'll show all of the off canvas elements. And I'm going to ungroup it. And now I can grab the camera. I can move it over here. And I can begin to use those elements that way. I'm still saving the elements. I'm still saving the color, but there's a little bit of adjustments that I have to make, especially when I start out with a really big image like I did in this case here. All right, anything else while we're here? Let's go back to the prints. We'll talk about prints again, because if you'll notice the images that I showed you from the agenda, we had a card size image. All right, so we had a greeting card size image that Stephanie had used in her layout. And that made, and here, I want this to be not portrait size, but landscape size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the custom size and I'm going to switch these around. So I'll make it 2100 and I'll make it 1500. Now I have that greeting card size laid out here. We don't have it both directions, but we have it one way. But if you had this under prints and I had a postcard size like this, and I had an image on that postcard size, I have to make this a little smaller. I'm going to take this image and make it small enough you can see it. We'll center that. Put this on a background. And now I have that on a background and I can see what that's going to look like in postcard size. And I get a chance to check that out. Okay? Are there any questions about that? Lucas, we have 2 years of those. Gloria is going to give you the place to get the webinar replays there. Okay, question asked here, how do I grab the I am going? I'm not sure where that was at. I must have missed something. John, I apologize. Okay. Are you all staying up with me here? Print sizes. That's our focus today. All right. I can make flyer size. When I go to the flyer size here, and I'm just using this vector image because it's easy to move around. All right. Well, flyer size, you want to take a look at what that looks like in a preview. There it is. Yeah, I wasn't sure what John was referring to either. Yes, let's get to the video question because that's a great question. Let's do this. This will be really helpful. Let's go to the video because the videos are important. We have a couple of options with YouTube. We have the YouTube channel art, which is a whole nother story. We've dedicated a whole hour to that one Friday. We have the channel icon, and we also have the thumbnail. So the thumbnail is the image that you sometimes refer to as the splash image. It's the image that appears at the beginning of the video. There's a couple of other things that we commonly use video overlays for. Gene did a great job last week of showing us how to use a video overlay on the interview that I gave that I did with Gene. We had him do a video overlay. Now, this is the easiest way for me to illustrate this. I believe the easiest way for me to illustrate this is, let me look here. Hold on a second. I'm gonna make a switch. So I'm gonna share a different screen. So stick with me as I go to I'm gonna go to a different screen here to show you a video overlay. And I don't really have something designed to do this today, but if I wanted to put an overlay on here, I'm going to grab something that's not going to be entirely appropriate. But if you'll notice here, my video, and this is last week's training video, my video fits that screen perfectly. So this is not an appropriate video to use for this. If my video did not fit perfectly, or if I wanted to put a banner across the top to eliminate this portion right here, or to eliminate this portion right here, what I would do is I would go to my design canvas. And from the design canvas, this is a video size template, okay? So I'd take that video size template, I would make my background transparent. Now I have a transparent background. I grab a vector graphic here. I'm just going to get a shape. I'm going to take a shape right here. I'm going to run this across the top of this video size. Run this right here. Change this. And I can put text in the middle of that. And then I have to save it as a ping file so that the transparency remains. I'm going to switch back my screen. Is this making sense? So now I take my Camtasia screen again. I get lost switching my screens back and forth. So stick with me. Switch back to my Camtasia screen. Now I'm going to add that overlay. And that's the overlay right there. And by dropping that overlay there, I can cover up the top half of that, just like that. Does that make sense? You can do the same thing with lower thirds. You can do the same thing with a variety of things. But that is a very, very common usage of Usign to help you create editing elements for your videos. And you can do that with any editor that allows you to be able to add an image. And yes, you can do that. You can resize that image any way you want to. In this case, I did that, but you could have easily on your design canvas kept it just like it was, and then gone over to the left hand side and eliminated the menu items that were there as well. And you can always change your canvas size. And you can, most video editors allow you to be able to adjust the size of the image that you put up. And yes, we use that a lot in GIFsign as well. That's the reason for talking about both platforms at the same time, is because that's a common usage of Usign stuff inside of GIFsign. All right, any other questions? I actually imported that into Camtasia. I did a quick import there by clicking on my import media button, and I was able to import that ping file into my media, and then just grabbed the media and dropped it on the second level. Yes, Gene did a great little, and you'll see it in the group. He did a great little GIF showing the webinars. Okay, that is. We won't have any problem. Graham, we'll get you accepted real quickly here. I promise you. Okay. Yes, that's a real common thing to do right here, and you can make that anywhere you want to. I always use just an element here to create what I'm looking for, but I can pull this over here, and I could do it down this side like this, and then by saving it as a transparency, I've got the ability to do some pretty cool stuff with it. I can actually take this, turn it that way, and I could have put it down the side just like that. Okay. This is a great tool. This may be the most helpful thing that we have, is the ability to be able to save that as a transparent background, use it as overlays on videos, GIFs, all kinds of stuff. So very, very helpful, very cool tool. Being able to remove the background and save it as a ping file does some of those cool things as well. Stephen, congratulations. Stephen's mentioned something here that he did a series of logos and versions over the past weekend and ended up saving a second tab, an instance of Youzigntraining just to keep track of the files already saved. Brilliant idea. And you hear me say this all the time. Focus on developing your skills, not saying, I wish the program did this, I wish the program did that. Work on your skills. Figure out how to create workarounds. Figure out how to make those things work so that you don't run into obstacles, because the skill development will be extremely valuable to you as we go down the road. Then you get to the point where there's not a problem you can't solve. It may take you a couple of additional mouse clicks. It may take you, like Stephen said, another tab to open up. But you want to make sure that you develop your skills. And we try to focus a lot on developing your skills. You know what? Nope, I did have it saved. Y'all did see my canvas there. Or did you not see my canvas? No, you were still on that screen. I'm sorry. Let me switch this canvas back. The problem with this is I can only share one screen with you at a time. And sometimes I forget to switch. I'm sorry. We'll make sure we get that in there. All right, this is what I did. I just simply grabbed my element from the top, resized it so that it fit on the side over here, grabbed my text, held down the shift key, grabbed my text, held down the shift key, and rotated it just like that. 90 degrees, made it go up the side. Okay. Yes, I was in Camtasia. I apologize for that. But yeah, we just simply resized this element that had been at the top, resized it, moved it over to the side so that we cover up the side elements, and then moved my text from up here down to here and rotated it 90 degrees. All right, Lucas will show you one more time. The way I moved it was I clicked on it so that it gets highlighted. Notice how, can you see the highlight around the outside of the text box? I clicked on it. I held down my left mouse key so you can pull it sideways. All right, I can pull it, I can move it around that way. And then to rotate it, I click on this little button right here at the top, hold down my shift key, and it'll move it 45 degrees at a time. Without holding it down, I can move it freehand. But I can't get 90 degrees freehand. So that's how you move it around. And I did the same thing with the vector box. I grabbed the edge of it, moved it sideways just like that to readjust the size. Yes, we can make the words arch, and I will, with that will be the last thing I will do today, okay? When you're in the text tab and you click on text over here, you click on curved text, that's the curved text. You have to open it up right here, and then what you do the same, say all the other elements work the same, except you have to edit it right here. And that's the curved text editors right there. Then I can make that a full circle by going right here on number 2, and I can rotate that to where it says 180. Or thereabouts, close to that. Rotate that till it fits there. Okay? That's how you do that. All right, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call it a day. Thank you, Christina. I appreciate that compliment. And just some little tricks that are good for us to know. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. And with that, I'm going to sign off. Y'all have a wonderful weekend. I have a 3-year-old that needs to play, and so that's where I'm headed. Thank you for your time and attention today. We'll be back next Friday, same time, same place, same everything. If you've registered for this webinar, you're registered for the next one. So I look forward to having you then. Thank you very much. Oh, man. It was great. Outside. No, it was great. And he got really dirty, all the way dirty. So I had to take a shower. All the way dirty. Man, I had a guy on the webinar who would not shut up. It rarely happens. But he didn't even know how to drag and drop text. Can you slow down? Show me how you move that again. How did you move that text? So, this is your webinars are all for you guys. Yeah. So what did you do today? Today we were going to talk about prints, and I brought up gift sign because it was always do a little bit about gifts. I always do that. And this guy got mad. He says, I thought this was about Youzigntraining8. They're both the same platform from the same developers, and they integrate with each other. So we're going to cover both of them. Well, how am I going to keep up because I don't have Youzigntraining8? I don't know. Then just watch. You may be surprised. You're an idiot. Like I said, I have great followers on this. Yeah. They handle those situations for me. Let me go to the bathroom. I'll show you what it did. Let's see what Gloria said here. One of the guys in the group said, on the webinar said, be quiet and watch.
They do think to look for you, huh?
They really do a good job of sticking up for me, which is pretty awesome, actually. But this was my agenda today, and I thought it was a great agenda.